Yeah, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to this week's English Sadakan program organized by Quantum Meditation Society London. As always, we will share some thoughts on something that is relevant to almost all of us, and then we will participate in a meditation together. So today we are talking about something that a lot of us experience from time to time. Some of us experience it a lot, but we don't necessarily talk about it, and that is loneliness. So, if you have joined some of our earlier sessions, especially the ones where we were talking about happiness, you may remember that the number one factor that influences our health, well-being, longevity is our connection to others. We human beings, we inherently long for connecting to someone or something that is outside of us. And without that connection, in the absence of that connection, we may feel like something's missing. And that's just how we are structured. And, in the future, we can go into more depth about why that happens. But it's the truth that most of us long for connection. And unfortunately, in today's world, especially in the industrialized societies, we are experiencing more and more and more a lack of that connection that we're longing for. So, loneliness is something that many of us, I would even say, a significant portion of us experience fairly regularly. So before we get into, excuse me, more into loneliness, let's just think of what loneliness is. So maybe when we think of loneliness, we may just think it's the same as being alone. You may be thinking of some elderly person who lives all by themselves, hardly has any human interaction. So that might be your vision of loneliness. But loneliness does not need to be something you experience only when you're alone. Actually, you can be alone and you can be perfectly fine and you can be content and happy, but you can also be around people. You may be a member of a family. You may be a member of a class, an educational institution. You can be a member of an office environment. You can even have friends or so-called friends and still experience a lack of meaningful connection. You can still feel like no one really understands you. You can still feel isolated. You can still feel there is really no one who is really there for you, who really gets you and is there for you. And you may feel a longing for someone or a connection that gives you that feeling of being connected, being understood, gives you that feeling that, oh, these people are really this person or these people are really there for me. So if you're experiencing that, a longing for that, a lack of that, then that is loneliness too. And on the other hand, as I indicated just a little while ago, you can be alone all by yourself, but you feel deeply present. You're feeling the energy of the universe around you. You're enjoying those moments that you are having to yourself, which, the once I got into meditation, the more I the more I developed my ability to be fully present, the more I experienced this joy of just being with the universe, being with nature, and that is a beautiful experience, and that's solitude. That's not loneliness. However, a lot of us may not be able to feel that, or just feel that periodically, but still yearn for more connection. Or we may not even realize why we're feeling low, why we're feeling down. We're getting down on ourselves. We feel isolated. We feel like, oh, our life's kind of meaningless. We may feel like we have nothing valuable to offer to the world, to the greater community. We may think we're worthless, and may not realize that underlying that is really loneliness, a lack of connection that's really giving rise to these feelings, the secondary feelings within us. So that is loneliness. And today's today we just want to think about what we can do to to really deal with this thing that so many of us experience, but often don't know how to deal with, who to talk about, who talk with, talk about it with. And if you have been reading the newspapers, following the news, you may already know that loneliness has been sort of declared the new epidemic. Loneliness is really bad for your health. It's Studies have found that it's worse for your health than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. I don't know if there still is, but I know in the UK there used to be a minister for loneliness whose main responsibility was to see how he could help give these people who are lonely some relief from the loneliness, what we could do about this so that they have more connections in their lives. So this is a serious thing. It can lead to seriousness, but serious issues. But like anything in life, like anything in life, dealing with it, successfully dealing with it, starts with an intention. The intention that you want to nurture more connections in your life. This decline in connections and rise in loneliness, it's not an accident. It has followed a philosophical shift in many societies. So you would see that up until, say, the 1950s, if you look at the US society, you will see that families were more cohesive. There was more of an emphasis on family. And then what happened was there was a shift in how we view life, and we started to view life as primarily something we experience on our own. Our goal in life is to make my dreams come true, follow my passion in life, follow my purpose, which are all great things, by the way. These are all great things. And the reason this arose is, we always go from one extreme to another, right? So the reason these things arose is probably we were at a stage where the individual's unique characteristics, unique vision, unique goal were sort of being repressed, maybe under familial and social responsibilities. And we don't want that either. We want every individual to flourish and with their own uniqueness, with their own gifts, own talents. However, we also recognize that just that will not be enough to make you feel happy and content at the end of the day. And actually, the even if when you're young and you're following, you're chasing something, maybe you're very excited about chasing your next goal, and you were like, okay, whatever, people, if they're around, good, not good, doesn't matter. Uh, uh, you may feel like that maybe sometime when you're young, but then as you get older, like you will start craving relationships. I having traveled almost 50 years on this earth, I can see how the curves change a little bit. Like even if you're somebody who is quite happy by themselves, like I think, Alhamdulillah, I am. But you know, if you feel sick, if you're 50 years old and sick, you would start thinking like, oh my God, what happens if I'm sick? This is now a real possibility. If I get older, who will take me to the hospital? Not that this is necessarily the right kind of thought, because you may be around people who are not doing anything for you, but if you're someone who actually gives a lot to the universe, you will see somebody come and help you in your time of need who might be a total stranger. But having said that, it's very natural that those kind of thoughts will arise, and you will start feeling like, maybe, I should have invested in relationships. So, so it's very normal to feel a lack of that, even if you're fulfilled in other areas of your life. So, even if you do accept that, then you will have to make space for that in your life. What happens in this industrialist societies is like we become busier and busier and busier, especially if we're very goal-oriented people. We're chasing our goals, which is amazing. We should do that. But what happens is like we leave less and less, less and less and less of our mental space, less and less of our attention is left for our relationships. We may live in a family, we may be a son or a daughter or a husband or a wife, you know, a father or a mother, but the amount of thinking, the amount of my attention, the amount of priority I give to those relationships has declined. And I might even just look at those relationships at not something that is part of who I am and something I fulfill, a responsibility I fulfill, uh, or being a part of a group, being a part of a we. I might also just start off at looking at that those responsibilities as a means of getting something. So when I'm in a marriage, I am not like a part of a couple. I'm not thinking I'm a part of a couple, and then that's very different from me as an individual. And and we now are building this life together, which is separate from who he is as an individual, who I am as an individual. I might be in the marriage, but still thinking, oh, what am I getting from my partner? Is he being nice to me? Is he getting me flowers? Is he giving me expensive gifts? Whatever, is he giving me attention? But I'm not really thinking like I haven't really moved from my position where I am thinking like, okay, I'm still Bonani and I still have my individuality, but okay, but I am also part of this new group now, which of course will add a new dimension to who I am, you know? So the first step is really just making the decision to nurture more connections in your life. And what happens with relationships, I'll show you something. In a very busy lifestyle, what often happens is like we spend the majority of our time taking care of urgent stuff. Some of you may have heard of this four quadrants of time management by Covey. So I'll let me see if I can explain it to you. Okay. So here, this is a graph. Okay. So here is urgent, the things, think of the things you do in the day. Okay. So some of the stuff you do are super urgent. Urgent meaning you need to take care of it right away. You may have a homework that is due today. Someone might be so sick that you need to go to the emergency right now. So those are urgent stuff. Then there then there are the important stuff. Important stuff is what we've been talking about, relationships, but they're not urgent, right? You may want to call your grandpa, but you may just be thinking like, okay, today I need to finish this thing and that thing. I'll call him next weekend, or I'll visit him next weekend, or I'll call him tomorrow, right? And then next week you may have to do something you consider urgent, but because the relationships are super important but not urgent, they often get pushed back, pushed back, pushed back, pushed back, pushed back until you find like it is too late, until you find like it's too late, like your children have grown up, your parent have grown old and maybe has passed away, or there too much distance has been created between you and your mom, or you and your spouse, or you and that friend you thought, oh, you'll call back. You had maybe you changed schools, and maybe you had this wonderful friend in your old school who you really got along with. And when you parted, you thought, okay, I'm going to keep in touch with this person. But then when you're in new school, you're like, okay, I'll write later, this, that. Then it gets pushed back, pushed back until, you kind of lose touch, you know? So, so the thing to remember about important things is like they are the ones that typically get pushed back. And then the two other quadrants are urgent, but not one is urgent and important. That, of course, you have to do. One is important, but not urgent. The other is neither important nor urgent. Just forget about that stuff. And the others are urgent, but not important. That type of stuff, when you're older, you should delegate, or if you're able to, you should delegate. If it's not important, maybe somebody else can do it. Urgent and important, you do right away. Important, you have to schedule it. You have to put it on your schedule. Otherwise, it will get pushed back. So the main reason I showed you this is you have to set an intention and make a decision to nurture your relationships. Now, how you're going to do it, of course, will depend on which relationships you want to nurture, and what your role is and what your lifestyle is like. So if you are a parent, let's say a child is growing up, like you may remember, we've already talked about this, like a child today grows up with 1/24th the amount of connection of a child who had throughout most of human history. So children grow up without much contact. And of course, when we are working, we're busy, we can't have contact with our children the whole time, or the other way, with our mom the whole time. But what we can do is make sure we have a certain amount of time regularly. If it's someone, a spouse or family, or our children, mom, of course, that should be every day. If it's like maybe a cousin or a grandparent, maybe not every day, but regularly. Have a regular schedule for getting in touch with them. And what is extremely important, that during that time, we give that relationship 100% of our attention. If you're a parent, you are going to be a parent at some point, you're thinking of being a parent at some point, there's something to remember, that attention is really how love translates itself in real life. How does a child feels loved? A child feels love when they can feel that 100% of my mom's attention, my dad's attention is on me right now. And you won't be able to do it all the time, of course, but the time where you set for your child, the number one priority should be to give 100% attention. And that's not something we find easy to do, like one father, there's a TED talk I listened to at some point. He was saying he used to read books to his child, and then he would skip pages so that he could get things done. And it sounds really, it obviously sounds very sad. When I think of the child's perspective, it sounds very, very sad. But it's also very normal these days, because what's happening is, like, when you're a busy person, you have a to-do list. You want to do tick, 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 tick. Okay, next I have to read and put him to bed, then I have to do this, then I have to finish that work, da la la la. So you are not thinking about being fully there when you're reading. You are just thinking about checking off one more thing in your list, and your mind is already on the next thing you need to do. So those things, you have to be very intentional about just being there fully for whatever time you have set. One thing that really helps is not have your screen with you, because honestly, as I've said before, like, since people have started having mobile phones, playground accidents have increased, because oftentimes the parent or whoever is watching the child is honestly looking at the playground, looking at the phone, not watching the child as carefully as he or she would have done if he didn't have a mobile with him. So it's extremely important to not have your screen with you while you're in this special time. Whether you are the mom or you are the son or a daughter, trying to develop your relationship with your parent or with your friend or with someone else. What happens is, like, if you're looking at your phone, number one, I have my phone, I'm sorry, but even just the fact that I have phone here, is like, the studies have shown that people say it decreases the quality of relationship. And if you're looking at the phone when you're interacting with your child, what's the message that a child is getting? The child is getting the message that the phone is more important to my mom or my dad than me, which is of course not true, in the bigger picture, but in that second, it's important. They're not getting that message, right? So it's very important to give them that message. It's very important to recognize and respect the fact that attention is sort of how love shows itself. Okay, so you have to set your intention, schedule, set times, and those times you pay attention, go full attention in whatever relationship you want to nurture. If you can do that, then you will see that your relationships are starting to grow. Okay, that's number one thing. Number two is that the root of success in all our relationships, the root of success in connections is our connection to ourselves. What do we mean? We need to, in order to have, like, to be able to create healthy connections with other people, what researchers call, psychologists call secure bonds, secure attachments with other people, we need to first have a very secure connection with ourselves. What do we mean? We mean that deep down, we accept, we love and accept ourselves. What do I mean? Mean that we're not carrying out a load of shame within us. You may remember this. This is very important. If you have shame about anything you've done as a child, anything you've done now, everyone has little bits, that shame the nature of shame is one to hide. You may, on one part of you may want to build relationship with some other part of you saying like, oh, no, 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 no. If this person really finds this out about myself, they won't like me. You know, no, 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 no. I can't let them know. So it's very important that you look into yourself and see if you have any shame in you, and if you have, forgive yourself. Remember that thing I said one day, like this mirror technique, where you look in the mirror and you tell yourself 7 things you're proud of yourself for, and the 7 things you forgive yourself for. Do that, and just remember, like you are human. Many people, you may think that just you did that, but maybe a lot of people have probably done much worse, but you don't know, you know, and you would never know until you share, right? So that makes me to the third step in this self-acceptance. Self-acceptance point is you accept yourself, get rid of, your shame. Meditation will help you forgive yourself. And then number 3 is you become comfortable with being vulnerable, meaning sharing your deepest, talking about your deepest fears, talking about your anything that makes you uncomfortable to share with. Of course, please don't be like, please don't be please don't be unrealistic and naive and share everything with the whole world. I mean, sometimes people do that. Like they we're not sharing with the people. We don't have a person we can trust and share with, and we haven't built a relationship with anyone that who have proven to be trustworthy when we share, and gives us the kind of and responds in a way that really helps us when we share. But we haven't built that up. But then what we go is like we put something on Instagram or Facebook and share it with the rest of the world. Please don't do that. Find people in your real life and open up and see if they're who can listen, who is non-judgmental, who is trustworthy in terms of not sharing the things you're sharing with them with other people. And you will see that there are people like this in this world. And in quantum, we're trying to be people like that, that's why you have so many stickers that this is gibbet free zone, right? Gibbet is like backbiting. So we try to avoid like talking about people behind their backs, um, and so you will find people like that. So try out, pick someone in your family, like maybe you can't share if you think you've done something or something's bothering you, but you don't want to feel like sharing with your mom. You think your mom will be upset and scold you. Maybe she will get upset and scold you, but she's not going to go and like discuss this with the rest of the world and make you. She, at the end of the day, she will try to do something helpful for you, even if at first she's shocked and it comes out as her being upset, but it's also how you say it and under what conditions. So, but still, if you develop that relationship, and understand that parents, when they get upset, it often comes from their own feelings of powerlessness in the urge to protect you, right? They really want to protect you, and then when they feel, oh my God, she's going to be in this trouble, that trouble, that fear sometimes makes them scold you or tell you off or whatever. But it's good if within your family circle you have someone who who you can be vulnerable with. And as a parent, of course, please try to provide that space where your child feels comfortable being vulnerable with you. If they're being vulnerable with you, telling you about some mistake they've made, something wrong they've done, and you just jump on them, of course they will close down. I mean, nobody likes being told off, of course, right? So as a parent, it's very important, especially in this day and age where our connections are decreasing to provide that space. Before, people might have an aunt or a cousin or a sibling or someone who was that person for them. But nowadays, a lot of children don't even have siblings, or the siblings relationship might not be such that they can feel comfortable confiding in them. So it's very nice if you can be, as a parent, be the person for your child, and you as a person try to be that person for other people. Okay, so for your friends, for your cousin, for your grandfather, as you grow older, as you become the grown up, become the grown up, and your parents are becoming older, maybe for your parents, you want to, because in today's world, people have less and less people to confide in. I just saw statistics in the UK, 22% of people say they have no one to confide in. In the US, a quarter of people say they have no one to confide in. And that's like actually a conservative estimate. I've seen studies where the number is much higher, where people just don't feel comfortable confiding in people. Then if don't have someone to confide in, you will have those feelings of loneliness. You will have those feelings of being isolated, even if you are surrounded by lots of people. you know so try to build that relationship, gather up that courage. But again, I want to emphasize that courage will come when you can accept yourself. If you are super ashamed, that feeling of shame is sitting somewhere in your body. You won't be able to, like, you won't have the urge, like, it would be hard to have the courage to actually be vulnerable and share things. But that is important because mm, you know giving is extremely important from a spiritual perspective. um it's and you get rewarded for it. But learning how to receive can also be something that is challenging for a lot of people. You may just think that, oh, I will be this, and this, but I will, if somebody gives me a compliment, I can't receive it, because I'm down on myself. That if you're giving out of the overflow of your own heart, and you're not really feeling the need to receive, amazing, amazing. But if deep down you're lonely, you're longing, you're yearning, but you're just not comfortable receiving, that's not good. Because remember, relationships are about sharing. They're two-way things, okay? So you give yourself love so that you can be comfortable around your other people, and you can give them. But you also are, like, you also are able to receive. You think yourself worthy of receiving. That's also important, because a lot of people these days, a lot of us these days are not, and that really acts as a barrier sometimes in relationships. Okay, so what are some practical things we can do? So we already said that we schedule time, and the second point of self-acceptance, getting rid of shame, all these things, and this thing we talked about, giving our attention, being present when we're with other people. All of these things will be helped by meditation. All of these things will be helped by meditation. Okay, so if you are someone who meditates regularly, you will gradually be more present. You will find ways to get rid of the shame in you, have more love for yourself, because you will start realizing there's so much within you, and be more connected to the authentic you. And the third thing that will happen, that will help you with nurturing connections, and dealing with your loneliness, is that you'll be able to forgive. You may remember I talked about this book called The Five Regrets of the Dying, the Top Five Regrets of the Dying, which was written by this palliative care nurse from New Zealand. So the first thing we regret we talked about before was not being living a life that's not true to yourself. But one of the other four was not choosing happiness. And when you read into what they mean by not choosing happiness, is like people who who may have gotten like had there might have been a distance created by with their brother or whatever, and they were thinking like, oh, I should reach out, I should take that first step, but they never got around to doing it. And then now they were dying and they really really regretted it, like, why did I let my ego get in the way of my happiness? Okay, so what's great about meditation is like it helps you step back from your ego and see things in perspective. And if someone's done something that's hurt you, a loved one has done something that's hurt you, and then maybe made you close off a little bit, what you can do then is you can see things from their perspective, and then that helps you, let it go. You can see the whole thing, like where you made the mistake, where they made the mistake, or even if it was their mistake, you can forgive them, and you can decide that no, in it's important for me to actually, even if it's their mistake, to heal this relationship, because it's important for me, to me. So that way, meditation will help you a lot. And other ways, like, and the other thing is like setting rituals, especially as a family. Okay, so in this busy day, unless you um, make it into a ritual, things don't happen. So for example, make it a ritual to have your family dinner together, no matter what. No matter what, no matter how busy someone is, during dinner time, everybody comes to the dinner table and has dinner together. The whole family has dinner together. And studies have shown that this one thing, having dinner, because there are families where someone is sitting in the couch in front of TV and having dinner, right? Having food. So, and that is in the moment, it might feel like, what's wrong with that? Of course. But if you can make it a point to get together, even if just for dinner, just that has shown to prevent a lot of trouble in the future. Children who come from those families get less addicted, they have less antisocial behavior, so on and so forth. Okay. And so you make rituals like that, or you call, if your grandparents are not in the city, because we live in this world where, like in my families, some part is in Bangladesh, my sister is in Canada, I am here. So you set a time when you call these people. So now you regular calls, and then a lot of families who are like scattered, like my family, what they do is like make it a point to meet once a year. If they can afford it, they go to a new place, and so they can you're traveling together and everybody's gathering, you know. Um, so that at least once a year everybody's together, not just for one day, but like for a extended period of time, so that you can really really sort of recharge your relationships, because there's some things that is hard to do over through a screen, obviously. Number three is like within a family, do chores together, involve kids in chores, like, or if you're a kid, help your mom set the table, help your mom cook, help your mom or dad, not just mom, dad, everybody participate in keeping the house clean, doing, somebody does the laundry, somebody sets the table, someone, people cook together. Because like in this industrial society, it's not too many of us can afford to have help, so the work needs to get done somehow. So why not we just all pitch in and do it together? Then that gives that sense of like, I'm not just me, I'm part of a group. And children who can think they belong, again, studies say that children who know their whole family tree, who was my grandfather's grandfather, my grandfather's grandfather came from this area, he was doing this, the Sayers do this, the Ramans do this, they are much more secure, are much more confident. Okay. So if you start feeling like, well, I'm a part of my family, I'm not just me, that will make you more confident, and that confidence you will carry in all your future relationships, all your other relationships. So, and then you will see that this loneliness is getting less and less. And especially if you start having dark thoughts, please share. Please share. You know, these days everybody go to therapists. Yes, therapists are fine, but before, people in many society, people didn't need that because your surroundings acted as your therapist. You had stable relationships within your circle where who you could share everything with. So try to be that for someone, and try to find people like that for yourself. And then inshallah, you will have, your life will feel fuller and fuller. You will be amazed how much happier you feel when you honor and nurture your connections. You will be surprised. You might be feeling depressed, and suddenly you just talk to someone for 2 minutes, and you just have a total shift in your mood. I mean, these things happen. So hopefully we will work together to make a more connected world, first for ourselves and then for the rest of the world, and contribute towards the well-being and happiness of the world. So that's our talk for today. I took some extra time. Uh, I am going to start this meditation soon, and this meditation is self-healing, but it's a little different from what we did last week. You will go to a healing center, but from the healing center, you would go out into a garden, a nice garden, and then you'll go into a lake where you'd write about all your problems, and then throw away the paper, disposable paper that will, that will nicely mix in with the lake water. It's a very nice meditation. I personally like it a lot. So as always, give me a second to play the meditation and let me know in the chat if you have any trouble with it, okay? Thank you. Okay, hope you enjoyed the meditation. I won't hold you up any longer. I'm sorry we've exceeded the time today. I hope you had a wonderful week ahead, and I will see you again next week, where again we talk about something that's relevant to all of us. Until then, nurture that connection with your inner joy, your inner positivity, and take care of yourself. Thank you.